Good evening, class. So, tonight we will study the aggravating circumstances. So, let us define what is aggravating circumstances. Aggravating circumstances are those which, if attendant in the commission of the crime, serve to increase the penalty without, however, exceeding the maximum of the penalty provided by law for the offense. So the effect, if a crime is attended by aggravating circumstances, the effect is to increase the penalty. So what are the aggravating circumstances that we are referring to? Under Article 14 of the revised Penal Code, there are 21 paragraph referring to aggravating circumstance. And unlike mitigating circumstance, wherein in the last paragraph there is a statement which says any other analogous circumstance. In paragraph 10 of Article 13 in mitigating circumstances that, and finally, any other circumstance of similar nature and analogous to those above mentioned is considered as mitigating circumstance. In contrast to aggravating circumstance, there is no statement, just like what we have mentioned in the mitigating circumstance. So, ang epekto niyan, kapag wala dito sa enumeration ng aggravating circumstance, it cannot be appreciated against the accused. Unlike in mitigating circumstance, if there are instances analogous to the circumstance mentioned in Article 13, a mitigating circumstance or an instance that will lower the penalty might be appreciated. But in aggravating circumstance, there's no such statement. So, whatever is the enumeration in Article 14 in aggravating circumstances, yun na yun. Walang maaring maidagdag dyan. Okay, paragraph 1. What is the first aggravating circumstance? That taken advantage or that advantage be taken by the offender of his public position. So why this instance is considered as aggravating circumstance? This is because of the greater perversity of the offender as shown by the personal circumstance of the offender and also by means used to secure the commission of an offense. So this aggravating circumstance, taking advantage of his public position, applies only when the person committing the crime is a public officer who take advantage of his position. Meaning that the public officer must use the influence, the prestige, or the ascendancy of his office to give him a means by which he realized his purpose. So ginamit niya ang influence, prestige, and ascendancy of his office. Ginamit niya yung pagiging public officer as a means to commit a crime. He has taken advantage of his position as public officer. So what is the example for this aggravating circumstance? Example, if a police officer in uniform abducted a girl by availing himself of his position. Or the chief of police who during the search of a boat by means of intimidation obtained money from the crew. Or a special agent of military police who committed robbery with homicide with the gun which he had been authorized to carry as a peace officer. So those are sample of a crime wherein aggravating circumstance of taking advantage of position as a public officer is appreciated. Yan. Halimbawa dyan, pulis ka, ginamit mo sa pang-hold up ang baril na inisyu sa'yo ng gobyerno which you are allowed to carry outside of your residence. So you have taken advantage of your position as public officer. Or for example, you are a councilor or a city mayor or a mayor or a governor. Then you have raped a certain employee, an applicant for a certain position in your office. So hindi mo magagawa yung crime na yon if you are not a mayor, you are not a councilor, or you are not a governor. If you have taken advantage of your position, then that aggravating circumstance can be appreciated. Number 2, that the crime be committed in contempt of or with insult to the public authorities. Why this is considered as aggravating circumstance? This is based on a greater perversity of the offender as shown by his lack of respect for public authorities. Siyempre, if you are carrying a position, a public office, you should have been respected. Hindi man lang irespeto ang iyong pagkatao, pero yung posisyon dapat irespeto. So what are the requisites for this circumstance? That the public authorities engage in the exercise of his function, that he who is thus engaged in the exercise of said function is not a person against whom the crime is committed, that the offender knows him to be a public authority, and his presence has not prevented the offender from committing the criminal act. So ano yung halimbawa dito? Halimbawa, nag-aaway si A and B sa harapan ng isang municipal mayor. O, nandoon mismo yung municipal mayor. Alam nila na ang tao na yun ay municipal mayor. At yung mayor, they have attempted to separate A and B. Sinubukan niya na awatin si A and B sa kanilang pag-aaway, pero hindi nakinig si A and B. Patuloy sila sa pagsasagutan, patuloy sila sa away until A succeeds killing B, hanggang sa kanilang pag-aaway ay nahantong sa pagpatay ni A kay B. In that instance, the killing is aggravated by the circumstance that the crime is committed in contempt or in insult, with the insult to the public authority. We go to number 3. That the act be committed with insult or in disregard of the due respect or respect due to offended party on the account of his rank, age, and sex, or that it be committed in the dwelling of the offended party if the latter has not given provocation. So in this paragraph, there are four aggravating circumstances that is being referred to. What are those? Disregard of rank, age, sex, and that the crime is committed in dwelling. This paragraph 3 is only applicable to the crimes against person or honor. So what is this disregard of rank of the offended party? There must be a difference in social condition of the offender and the offended party. So kailangan magkaiba yung kanilang social condition. Halimbawa, yung biktima ay teacher, tapos ang offender, ang perpetrator ay ang estudyante. So, there is a disregard of rank. Example also, if there is an attack against the judge by the one who is an accused in a case, there is also a disregard of rank. Or there's an attack against the general of the Philippine Army, and the attack is committed by a private army or of the lower rank. So there is also a disregard of rank against the offended party. How about the disregard of age? For example, the aggressor is 45 years old, but he attacked the victim who is 75 years old or 80 years old. So there is a clear disregard of the age of the offended party. Another example is that the crime was committed in disregard of respect due to the victim on the account of age and relationship, the accused being the grandson of the victim. So the victim is lolo, inatake siya ng kanyang apo. So there is a disregard of age. How about the disregard due to sex? For example, A and B were sweetheart. Sila ay magkasintahan. Ang sabi ni B kay A na hindi na niya mahal ang kanyang kasintahan. So dahil dito, si A na lalaki ay pinagsasaksak si B. So, sa sitwasyon na ito, sabi ng Supreme Court in People versus Mangsant, if it was not proved or admitted by the accused that when he committed the crime, he had the intention to offend or to disregard the sex of the victim, so no disregard of respect due to sex. So ano yung example of disregard of sex? Example in US versus Wibenko, wherein a person compels a woman to go to his house against her will. So the crime of coercion is aggravated by the disregard of sex. Another example is when a direct assault upon a lady teacher. So habang nagtuturo ang isang babaeng guro, inatake siya ng offender. while in her classroom. So, the disregard of sex will be appreciated. And what are the other circumstances wherein the disregard of sex as an aggravating circumstance cannot be appreciated? Number one, when the offender acted with passion and obfuscation. So in that instance, disregard of sex is not appreciated. Next, where there is a relationship between the offended party and the offender. So, for example, they are married, they are husband and wife. So, the disregard of sex cannot be appreciated. Another is when the condition of being a woman is indispensable in the commission of a crime. So it is already inherent, just like in the crime of rape, abduction, parricide, and seduction. Sex is not considered as aggravating. Next, that the crime is committed in the dwelling of the offended party. What do you mean by dwelling? Dwelling must be a building or a structure exclusively used for rest and comfort. So a combination of the house and a store or a market stall where the victim sleep is not considered as a dwelling. So, para ma-appreciate yung aggravating circumstance na dwelling, kailangan yung structure ginagamit for rest and comfort. So rest and comfort, that the structure is used for rest and comfort. A combination of the house and a store or a market stall wherein the victim sleep is not appreciated as dwelling. So dwelling is considered as an aggravating circumstance. This is because of the greater perversity of the offender as shown by the place of the commission of an offense. Dwelling is considered as an aggravating circumstance primarily because of the sanctity of privacy the law accord to the human abode. So if the crime happens in a dwelling or in a structure wherein that structure is intended for rest and comfort, the aggravating circumstance of dwelling is appreciated. So in dwelling, the offended party must not give a provocation. So kailangan hindi manggaling sa biktima ang provocation para ma-appreciate ang dwelling as aggravating circumstance. Dwelling is not aggravating although the incident happened in the house of the victim where the stabbing was triggered off by his provocation and insulting act. For having given sufficient provocation before the commission of the crime, he has lost his right to respect and consideration due him in his own house. So if it is the victim was given a provocation immediate to the commission of the crime, then the aggravating circumstance of dwelling cannot be appreciated. So what includes dwelling? Dwelling includes dependencies and the foot of the staircase and enclosure under the house is appreciated as dwelling. In the following cases, the dwelling is not an aggravating circumstance when both offender and the offended party are occupants of the same house. Then, when the robbery is committed by the use upon force upon things, dwelling is not an aggravating because it is inherent in that crime. Robbery through the use of force upon things. Siyempre, bago ka makakommit ng crime na yun, kailangan gumamit ka ng force on things. Pumasok ka sa pintuan o sa bintana, sinira mo, sa bahay ka pumasok ng victim. So, it's already inherent in that crime. So, it cannot be appreciated as an aggravating circumstance. Also, in the crime of trespass to dwelling, wherein it is inherent and included by law in the definition of the crime. Another, when the owner of the dwelling gives sufficient and immediate provocation. Yan yung sinabi ko kanina, kapag yung biktima ang nagbigay ng sufficient and immediate provocation, that aggravating circumstance cannot be appreciated. Next, when the dwelling where the crime was committed did not belong to the offended party. Nangyari ang crime sa bahay, pero yung biktima ay hindi nakatira doon sa bahay na yon. So, dwelling is not considered as an aggravating circumstance. How about in this case? The following cases, Supreme Court has found out an aggravating circumstances of dwelling. Number 1, the victim was raped in the boarding house where she was a bed spacer. So, although yung biktima hindi niya pagmamayari yung buong bahay, but she is a bed spacer. Nagre-rent lamang ng isang kwarto, ng isang higaan doon sa bahay na yon. The rape committed against the victim, an aggravating circumstance of dwelling, was appreciated. Next, the victim was raped in the paternal home where they are guests at the time and did not reside there. So, yung biktima ay bisita lamang sa kanilang bahay ng kanilang lolo. Nangyari ang pagre-rape, dwelling is appreciated in that case. Next, the victim was killed in the house of her aunt where she was living with her niece. So, yung biktima pinatay doon sa bahay ng kanyang auntie na kung saan siya ay nakikitira. Although hindi niya pagmamayari ang bahay, pero dwelling still is appreciated in that case. Next, the victim while sleeping as a guest in the house of another person were shot to death in that house. Again, in another instance, in another case, ang biktima ay nakitulog lang sa kanyang kaibigan. Kahit hindi niya pagmamayari ang bahay na yon, doon siya binaril. That instance, the dwelling is appreciated. Next, for aggravating circumstance, paragraph 4, that the act be committed with abuse of confidence and obvious ungratefulness. So, these aggravating circumstances are based on a greater perversity of the offender as shown by means and ways employed. What is abuse of confidence? This circumstance exists only when the offended party has trusted the offender, who later abuse such trust by committing the crime. The abuse of confidence must be a means of facilitating the commission of a crime, the culprit taking advantage of the offended party's belief that the former would not abuse said confidence. So dito naman, inabuso ang tiwala na binigay ng biktima doon sa offender. What are the requisites? That the offended party or the victim has trusted the offender. Next, the offender abused such trust by committing a crime against the offended party. So pinagkatiwalaan ng biktima ang offender at itong offender ay nakagawa ng krimen, inabuso niya ang tiwala na binigay sa kanya, gumawa siya ng krimen against the offended party na nagtiwala sa kanya. And that the abuse of confidence facilitated the commission of the crime. At dahil dyan sa tiwala na binigay ng biktima sa offended party, nagawa niya ang krimen. That's why it's considered as an aggravating circumstances because it has facilitated the commission of the crime. For example, a jealous lover had already determined to kill his sweetheart, invited her for a ride to the country. The girl, unsuspecting of his plan, went with him. While they were inside the car, the jealous lover stabbed the girlfriend. It was held that aggravating circumstance was present in this case. However, this circumstance is inherent in the following crime like malversation, qualified theft, estafa, and qualified seduction. So, abuse of confidence will not be appreciated in malversation, qualified theft, estafa, and qualified seduction because it's already inherent in the crime, included as an element in the crime. So it will not be appreciated as aggravating circumstance. Then what is obvious ungratefulness? Ungratefulness as an aggravating circumstance exists in the following example. That the accused killed his father-in-law whose house he lived and who partially supported him. Pinatay niya yung kanyang father-in-law na nagsusuporta sa kanya, nagpapakain sa kanya. So wala siyang utang na loob. The circumstances was present where the accused was living in the house of the victim who employed him as an overseer and in charge of carpentry work and had free access to the house of the victim who was very kind to him, his family, and who helped him solve his problem. The circumstance is also present where the security guard killed a bank officer and robbed the bank. So dito sa mga sitwasyon na ito, yung offender, yung akusado ay walang utang na loob. Ginawa niya ng kalukuhan, ng krimen, yung tao na nagpakain sa kanya, nag-aruga sa kanya. Kaya nga, obvious ungratefulness. So, this circumstance will increase the penalty of the accused if convicted. This circumstance also is appreciated when a visitor commit robbery or theft in the house of the host. So, pinatulog, pinakain sa bahay ng yung biktima at ginawan mo pa siya ng krimen, pagnanakaw, o kaya ano pang krimen na yung nagawa. So, aggravating circumstance of obvious ungratefulness will be appreciated. Paragraph 5, class, is that the crime be committed in the palace of the chief executive or the president or in his presence where the public authorities are engaged in the discharge of their duties or in a place dedicated to religious worship. What is the basis for this aggravating circumstance? They're based on greater perversity of the offender as shown by the place of commission of the crime, which must be respected. So dapat yung palace, Malacanang, lugar na kung saan nandoon ang chief executive or ang mga lugar na kung saan nagdaraos ng religious worship, dapat yan rin irespeto. So committing a crime in this place is an aggravating circumstance. You have to remember that the place of commission of felony, if it is in Malacanang Palace or of the church, is aggravating regardless whether state or official or religious functions are being held. So, kung nagawa ang isang krimen sa Malacanang Palace, sa church, kahit na walang activity na ginagawa doon sa lugar na yon, even if they are not having religious or official function, still this can be appreciated as aggravating circumstance because you have committed the crime in Malacanang Palace or in the church. The chief executive need not to be in Malacanang. His presence alone in any place where the crime committed is enough to constitute an aggravating circumstance. This aggravating circumstance is present even he is not engaged in the discharge of his duties in the place where the crime is committed. So, if the President of the Philippines is in front of you and you have committed a crime, the penalty against you will be increased because that is an aggravating circumstance. You have supposed to respect the presence of the chief executive or the president. Paragraph 6, that the crime be committed in the night time in uninhabited place by a band whenever such circumstances may facilitate the commission of a crime. Why this circumstance is considered as aggravating? Because they are based on time and place of the commission of the crime and the means and ways employed. So, kailan magiging aggravating ang nighttime, uninhabited place, and by a band? Kailan siya makukonsider na aggravating? It is considered as aggravating when it facilitated the commission of the crime. So, kung ito ay nakatulong para mapadali ang pagsasagawa ng krimen, yung nighttime, darkness of the night, yung uninhabited place, walang nakatira, walang tao doon sa pinangyarihan ng krimen, and by a band. So later on we'll define what is a band. Number 2 circumstance, when especially sought for by the offender to ensure the commission of a crime or for the purpose of impunity. Sinadya niya talaga na gawin sa gabi o kaya doon sa lugar na walang tao. Sinadya niya na magtawag ng mga kasama para hindi sila makilala o para sila ay para matuloy talaga o matuloy yung kanilang planong masama. The number 3, when the offender took advantage thereof for the purpose of immunity. So, ginamit nila yung darkness of the night, yung lugar, uninhabited place, para may sagawa, may sakatuparan yung kanilang krimen, hindi sila makilala at sila ay maka-escape kung anuman ang mga pananagutan na kailangan nilang panagutan sa batas. For example, in taking advantage of nighttime, E, with intent to kill B, had hidden behind the tree and availed himself of the darkness to prevent his being recognized or to escape more readily. As soon as B came, A stabbed him to death. So, in this case, A had taken advantage of the darkness of the night to facilitate the crime. So, nighttime is appreciated as aggravating circumstance. How do we define nighttime? Nighttime should be understood according to the Biada case that the period of darkness beginning at the end of the dusk and ending at dawn. Night are from sunset to sunrise. Kailan hindi masasabing aggravating ang nighttime? When the crime began at daytime. For example, in People versus Luchico, when the crime was as a result of succession of acts which took place within the period of 2 hours commencing from 5 o'clock in the afternoon and ending in the 7 o'clock in the evening without moments of interruption, in which it can be said that the thought of nighttime being most favorable occasion for the commission of the crime occurred to the accused that there is no aggravating circumstance of nighttime that can be appreciated because, as I have said, the crime started at 5 o'clock. So, ang intention ng accused is not to avail himself of the darkness of the night to facilitate the crime dahil ginawa niya yung 5 o'clock, although natapos yung crime at 7 p.m. because of a continuous succession of acts. The commission of a crime must begin and be accomplished in the night. So, yung simula at katapusan ng crime, it should be during night time. That the offense must actually be committed in the darkness of the night. So, if the offense is committed under a bright light, street light, maliwanag ang lugar na kung saan nagawa ang isang krimen, well, nighttime cannot be appreciated because the offender has not taken advantage of the darkness of the night. Now we go to uninhabited place. What do you mean by uninhabited place? Uninhabited place is the one where there is no houses at all, a place that a considerable distance from a town, or where houses are scattered at a great distance from each other. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin na totally walang tao. Mayroong mga bahay pero they are scattered. And there is a remote possibility of seeking or asking for help. So, pag nangyari ang krimen doon sa lugar na yon, malabong makahingi ang tulong ang biktima dahil malalayo yung mga bahay kung may bahay man yan, o kaya totally walang bahay ang lugar na yon. This aggravating circumstance should not be considered when the place where the crime was committed could be seen, or at a voice of the deceased could be heard from nearby houses. So, kung sa pinangyarihan ng krimen, makakahingi siya ng tulong sa pamagitan kanyang pagsigaw, mayroon makakarinig ng kanyang sigaw, yung uninhabited place as an aggravating circumstance will not be appreciated. The solitude must be sought to better attain the criminal purpose. So it must appear that the accused sought the solitude of the place or the inhabited place where the crime was committed in order to better attain his purpose. The offender must choose the place as an aid either to easy the uninterrupted accomplishment of the criminal design or to ensure the concealment of an offense that might thereby be better secured against the detection and punishment. So, ang isang babae, dinala niya sa isang lugar na uninhabited para yung biktima niya ay hindi makahingi ng tulong at madali niyang maisasagawa yung kanyang mga masamang binabalak. So, yun yung uninhabited place. Napunta natin, what do you mean by a band? What is a band? Whenever more than 3 armed male malefactors shall have acted together in the commission of an offense, it shall be deemed to have committed by a band. Yan. So, ang tandaan natin dito, more than 3 armed person acted together, nagsama-sama ang more than 3, ibig sabihin 4 na tao na mayroong armas. Kapag 3 lang o 2 lang ang may armas, kahit sila pa ay 10 na nagsama-sama acted in commission of a crime, this aggravating circumstances by a band cannot be appreciated. Dahil sinasabi ng batas, there are more than 3 who are armed, acted together, facilitated the commission of the crime. Next, aggravating circumstance, that the crime be committed with the end of armed men and or person who ensure or afford impunity. So this is based on the means and ways of committing the crime. What are the requisites for this aggravating circumstance? That the armed man or person took part in the commission of the crime directly or indirectly. Number 2, that the accused availed himself of the aid or relied upon them when the crime was committed. So, the casual presence of armed men near the place where the crime was committed does not constitute the aggravating circumstance when it appears that the accused did not avail himself of their aid or rely upon them to commit the crime. So what are the example of a crime with an aggravating circumstance with the aid of armed men? Example is A, in order to get rid of her husband, secured the services of other Moros by promising them reward had they killed her husband. In accordance with the plan, the armed themselves with clubs, went to the house of the victim and clubbed him to death. A held a lighted lamp. A also supplied them with rope to which to tie her husband. So in this case, A committed parricide with the aid of armed men. Now, we go to the next paragraph, that the accused is a recidivist. So this is based on the greater perversity of the offender as shown by his inclination to the crime. So ito, hindi nadala paulit-ulit na ginagawa o gumagawa ng krimen. Who is a recidivist? A recidivist is the one who at the time of his trial for one crime shall have been previously convicted by final judgment of another crime, embraced in the same title of the revised penal code. So that is why in your next semester you will study the RPC Book 2. There you will notice that crimes are classified under titles. So mayroong mga titles ang crime, and if that person committed a crime under the same title and other requirements, he can be considered as recidivist. So what are the requirements or the requisites for a person to be considered as recidivist? Number one, that the offender is on trial for one offense. Next, that he was previously convicted by final judgment of the other crime. So the offender now is on trial of another offense. Ibig sabihin, this is now the second offense. He was convicted for final judgment of another crime. The number 3, that both first and second offense were embraced in the same title. Yung una niyang crime na nagawa at itong latest crime, they are embraced in the same title. Then, that the offender is convicted of the new offense. So those are the requisites. Ulitin ko, that the offender is on trial for one offense, that he was previously convicted by a final judgment of another crime, convicted by final judgment, even have not served sentence as long as he is convicted by final judgment, that both first and second offense is embraced in the same title of this code, and number 4, that the offender is convicted for a new offense. He is a recidivist. Example for this aggravating circumstance, recidivism, that the accused was convicted for a robbery with homicide committed on November 20, 2024, and that he was previously convicted of a theft, the crime of theft committed in January 1, 2024. So the accused is a recidivist. Next paragraph on aggravating circumstance class is that the offender has been previously punished for an offense in which the law attaches an equal or greater penalty for 2 or more crimes to which it attaches a lighter penalty. So ito naman tinatawag na reiteration or habituality. The basis is that the same with recidivism, the greater perversity of the offender as shown in his inclination to commit a crime. So naparusahan na siya, hindi siya nadala, he also commit a crime, other crime. But here, the requisites are the accused is on trial for an offense, that he has previously served sentence for another offense to which the law attaches equal or greater penalty. So here, he has already served an offense. Kanina, sa recidivism, he is only convicted by a final judgment kahit hindi pa siya nagsiserve ng sentence. Habituality or reiteration, that the offender has already served a sentence, to which the law attaches equal or greater penalty, or for 2 or more crimes to which it attaches a lighter penalty that for a new offense. And number 3, requisite that he is again convicted for a new offense. Yun yung requisites for the habituality or reiteration. Example, the accused was convicted of homicide, less serious physical injuries, and slight physical injury, all committed in January 14, 2000. He was found out by the trial court to have committed the offense prior and after to the date as follows. In January 2001, in January 1995, he was arrested as the accused of the crime of theft. In May 1997, he was likewise charged for physical injury, but said case was amicably settled. And on June 1998, he was likewise charged for the crime of theft and was convicted of the said offense. He was likewise charged and convicted for another criminal case. And number 5, he was also charged for theft, but the said case was settled amicably. And number 6, so napakarami niyang kaso. He was charged and convicted for theft on October 30, 2001. So, in reiteration or habituality, it is essential that the offender be previously punished and he has served sentence for an offense that the law attaches or provides for an equal or greater penalty than that attached by law to the second offense or to 2 or more offense in which the law attaches a lighter penalty. So, pinag-uusapan natin dito, there are 4 forms of repetition, yung mga kinds of aggravating circumstance which involves repetition of a crime. Number 1 is recidivism under paragraph 9 of Article 14. Number 2 is reiteration or habituality under paragraph 10 of Article 14. The multi-recidivism or habitual delinquency on Article 62 of paragraph 5, and the quasi-recidivism in Article 160. So ito yung 4 na forms of repetition. Recidivism na ipaliwanag na natin kanina. Reiteration also na ipaliwanag na natin. Ano ang tinatawag na habitual delinquency? There is an habitual delinquency when a person within a period of 10 years from the date of his release or last conviction of a crime of serious or less serious physical injury, robbery, theft, estafa, or falsification is found guilty of any of said crime and a third time or oftener. In habitual delinquency, the offender is either a recidivist or one has been previously punished for 2 or more offense. Or in reiteration, he shall suffer the additional penalty of being an habitual delinquent. So nabanggit dito yung crimes that is committed by the accused, and these are crimes of serious or less serious physical injury, robbery, theft, estafa, or falsification. So within the 10 years from the date of his release or last conviction of these crimes, and he is found guilty of the said crime for third or oftener, or palagi na lang siyang gumagawa ng crimes na nabanggit for third time and fourth, or so on and so forth, he is considered as habitual delinquent. Ano naman ang tinatawag na quasi-recidivism? Any person who shall commit a felony after having been convicted by final judgment before beginning to serve such sentence or while serving the same shall be punished by the maximum period of penalty prescribed by law for the new felony. So, for example, the defendants while serving in believed prison for one crime struck and stabbed foreman of the brigade of prisoners. So, under Article 160 of the Code, he shall be punished with the maximum period of penalty prescribed by law for the new felony. So, what is important here is that he is convicted by final judgment, or he is going to serve for such sentence, or while serving sentence, he committed a felony in the, he committed a crime which is embraced in the revised penal code. Paragraph 11, that the crime be committed in consideration of price, reward, or promise. So this is based on the greater perversity of the offender as shown by the motivating power itself. So the price, reward, or promise must be for the purpose of inducing another to perform the deed. The evidence must show that one of the accused used money or other valuable consideration for the purpose of inducing another to perform the deed. So ito, you are a principal by inducement. You did not participated in the commission of the crime, but through your money, by giving reward to the principals, by direct participation, they have committed the crime. So that aggravating circumstance can be appreciated. Price, reward, or promise. Paragraph 12, that the crime be committed by means of inundation, fire, poison, explosion, stranding a vessel, or intentional damage thereto, derailment of a locomotive, or by use of any other artifice involving great waste and ruin. The basis of this is the means and ways employed by the accused in committing a crime. So using inundation by means of fire, poison, explosion, and stranding a vessel. So what are the example? For example, by means of fire, the accused had set a fire to an automobile under a building, with the result that the edifice was consumed by fire. One of the inmates of the house perish in the conflagration. So in order to constitute murder, there should be an actual design to kill, and that the use of fire should be purposely adopted as means to that end. So, to qualify the killing to murder, the prosecution must prove that the fire is used deliberately in order to kill the person. So, that can be appreciated as aggravating circumstance. Killing a person using fire by means of explosion, that is already self-explanatory, by derailment of locomotives. Paragraph 13, that the act committed with evident premeditation. Okay, so we are now on paragraph 13 on aggravating circumstances. In paragraph 13, it says that the act be committed with evident premeditation. What is the basis of this aggravating circumstance? The basis has reference to the ways of committing the crime, because evident premeditation implies a deliberate planning of the act before executing it. So deliberate planning, pinag-isipan. Kaya ito ay mayroong kaukulan na maximum penalty, dahil ang bago isagawa ang isang krimen ay dapat pinag-isipan ng isang akusado. The essence of premeditation is that the execution of criminal act must be preceded by a cold thought and reflection upon the resolution to carry out the criminal intent during the space of time sufficient to arrive at a calm judgment. So, yung evident premeditation is that execution of criminal act must be preceded by a cool thought and reflection. Kailangan makita na pinag-isipan ng akusado at pinagplanuhan mabuti kung paano niya isasagawa ang gagawing krimen. Evident premeditation has been fully established. The commission of the crime was premeditated and reflected upon, and was preceded by cold thought and reflection with the resolution to carry out the criminal intent during the span of sufficient time to arrive at the hour of judgment. Thus, the evident premeditation may not be appreciated absent any proof as to how and when the plan to kill was hatched or what time elapsed before it was carried out. So, kailangan makita ng husgado kung kailan sinimulan na planuhin ng akusado ang gagawing krimen, at makita yung sufficient lapse of time. So what are the requisites for evident premeditation? The prosecution must prove that the time when the offender determined to commit the crime. So the prosecution must prove the time as to when the offender is determined to commit the crime. Number 2, an act manifestly indicating that the culprit has clung to his determination. And number 3 requisites is sufficient lapse of time between the determination and the execution to allow him to reflect upon the consequences of his act and to allow his conscience to overcome the resolution of his will. So those are the 3 requisites. So there is an example case in US versus Manalinde, wherein the accused who pleaded guilty, confessed that his wife died about 100 days before. So he was directed by Dato Mapuk to go Juramentado and to kill 2 persons he would meet in town. That if he was successful in the matter, Dato Mapuk would give him a pretty woman on his return. That in order to carry out his intention to kill 2 persons in the town of Cotabato, he provided himself with a kriss which he concealed in a banana leaves, and he traveled a day and a night from his town. Then upon arriving or reaching the town, he attacked behind a Spaniard, and immediately after he attacked a Chinaman who was close by, and that he had no quarrel with the assaulted person. The Supreme Court held that those facts establish an aggravating circumstances of evident premeditation. So the first requisite is present as to the time when the offender determined to commit the crime. The certain date is present. Then as to the act of manifesting that he clung to his determination, is that he undertook the journey to comply therewith. He traveled miles or kilometers away from his hometown, and he has provided himself with a weapon. Then the third requisite also is present, because after the journey he killed the victim, although there is no determinate or specific victim, but the condition is the first 2 persons that he will see on the street in the town of Cotabato, he will kill the same. So there is a specific victim, although not to the person, but as to the condition that the first 2 persons that will pass through the street of Cotabato, then he will kill that person. So there is an evident premeditation. In evident premeditation, the date and if possible the time when the offender determined to commit the crime is essential, because the lapse of time for the purpose of third requisite is computed from that date. So kailangan ipakita ng prosecution kung kailan napagdesisyonan ng akusado na gagawin niya ang krimen. Pangalawa, kailangan ipakita ng prosecution na from the time that the accused or the offender determined to commit the crime, there are series of actions which indicate that the culprit, the offender, has clung to his determination, and that there is a lapse of time. Mayroong pagitan mula sa oras na kung saan nagdesisyon ang offender na gagawin niya ang krimen hanggang sa ginawa nga niya ang krimen, because sufficient lapse of time indicate that the offender has planned the crime. What is sufficient lapse of time? Evident premeditation was held attendant when the accused had 3 days time to meditate upon the crime which he intended to commit, and was not prompted by impulse of the moment. So mayroong 3 araw na pagitan bago isinagawa ng akusado ang kanyang pinaplanong krimen. The Supreme Court said that that is already a sufficient lapse of time in People versus Lasafin 92 Philippines 668. Then the existence of evident premeditation is undeniable from the incident that dated back 1 month previously when the deceased during the fight slapped the victim and slapped the accused and ordered him to kneel down, and in humiliation inflicted him, and the humiliation inflicted him caused him to persist in the thought that one day he would be avenged. So he made it clear on the very same evening of that encounter. 2 days later, he stepped on the running board of a bus, peeped inside, and inquired if the deceased was there. When he did not find him, he made the remark that if he were there, he had something for him. Under such circumstance, the premeditation to inflict harm is evident. Also, evident premeditation was attendant where the accused had 1 whole day to make the necessary preparation from the time he conceived the idea of attacking the deceased. So ang mahalaga dyan yung time kung kailan naisipan ng accused na gawin ang krimen, and after that mayroon siyang mga ginawang paghahanda, at lumipas ang mga oras, sinagawa niya ang krimen. So there is an evident premeditation. Pinag-isipan, pinagplanuhan kung paano isasagawa ang krimen. Paragraph 14 of Article 14, the Revised Penal Code, that the craft, fraud, or disguise be employed. The basis for this aggravating circumstance is that the means employed in the commission of the crime. So how do you define craft? Craft involves the use of intellectual trickery or cunning on part of the accused. It is not attendant where the accused was practically in a stupor when the crime was committed. Example, when the accused asked the victim to change his money for a 10 peso bill. When the victim took out his wallet, the defendant snatched it from the hands of the victim. It was held that the crime of robbery was attended by aggravating circumstance of craft. Craft was used by the accused in the commission of an offense of rape when the accused resorted to the use of innocent-looking chocolate candies which did not arouse suspicion of the complainant that they contained a deleterious drug. The purpose of the accused in giving them to weaken her resistance so that he would not be able to repulse physical and mentally his sexual assault. O dito, sa kaso na ito, ginamit ng akusado ang isang chocolate candy. Yung pala ay naglalaman ng drugs, pampatulog o kaya drugs na makapagpapahina sa kanyang biktima para madali niyang maisakatuparan ang pangre-rape. So there is a craft in that case. What do you mean by fraud? Fraud is an insidious words or machination used to induce the victim to act in the manner which would enable the offender to carry out his design. For example, when the accused induced their victim to give up their arms upon a promise that no harm would be done to them, and when the latter give up their arms, the former attacked and killed them, it was held that there was fraud. So mayroong panluloko kasi sinabi ng akusado, ibigay nyo sa akin ang inyong mga armas at walang mangyayari sa inyo kapag makipag-cooperate kayo at makipagtulungan kayo. Ibigay nyo yung armas at kayo ay magiging safe. However, nang itinurn over, binigay na yung armas, the accused attacked the victim. So in that case, there was fraud. Mayroong panloloko na naganap. How about disguise? What is disguise? Disguise is resorting to any device to conceal identity. The fact that the accused had his face blackened in order that he should not be recognized at the time he committed the crime constitute an aggravating circumstance of disguise. So naglagay siya ng mask, naglagay siya ng kulay sa kanyang mukha para hindi siya makilala. It is an aggravating circumstance that is called disguise. So we continue on paragraph 15, class, on aggravating circumstances. Paragraph 15, that the advantage be taken of superior strength or means be employed to weaken the defense. What is the meaning of advantage be taken? It means that to take advantage of superior strength, to use purposely excessive force out of proportion to the means of defense available to the person attacked. So the victim was outnumbered, or the excessive force was used para hindi maka-rest back ang biktima. So illustration or example of abuse of superior strength. A strong man has ill-treated a child or an old or decrepit person, one weakened by disease, or where the person's physical strength has been overcome by the use of drugs or intoxication. So, example, in the crime of killing, a man of 35 years old killed a child who is 5 years old. So there is an aggravating circumstance of taking advantage by superior strength. Abuse of superior strength also is appreciated when a man attacks a woman with a weapon. Attack made by a woman with a deadly weapon upon an armed and defenseless woman constitute the aggravating circumstance of abuse of superior strength, which his sex and weapon is used in the act afforded him, and from which a woman was unable to defend himself. Next aggravating circumstance is paragraph 16. Treachery or alibusia. The act be committed with treachery or alibusia. So what is the basis of this aggravating circumstance? The basis has a reference to the means and ways employed in the commission of the crime. So what do you mean by treachery, class? Treachery is when the offender commits any of the crime against person employing means, method, and forms in the execution which tend directly and especially to ensure its execution without the risk to himself arising from the defense of the offended party might make. Treachery means that the offended party was not given an opportunity to make a defense. And treachery is attended the shooting of the deceased wherein there is an attack or sudden attack unexpected without warning and without giving the victim an opportunity to defend himself or repel the aggression. So what is the rule regarding treachery? It is applicable only to the crimes against person. Then number 2, means and method or forms need not ensure the accomplishment of the crime. It's not necessary that the means or the methods or the forms employed in the execution of the crime ensure its accomplishment, as the law says to ensure its execution only. And number 3, the mode of attack must be consciously adapted. That this is based on the phrase employing means, method, and form in the execution which tends to directly and especially in the definition of treachery. So, treachery is applicable only to crimes against person. Example, when A raped B, A used a carbine to accomplish his purpose. According to the prosecution, A employed means tending to, as it did ensure the execution of the act without the risk himself, which might arise from defense, which B might make. Is there a treachery in this case? No. No. Because treachery applies only to crimes against person. So, this is not already applicable. The case is People versus Ramos in year 1913. But today, because rape is considered now as crimes against person, so this fact when happened, it will be appreciated as treachery, because now we consider rape as under the crimes against person. What are the other example of treachery? So treachery cannot be presumed. The suddenness of the attack does not of itself suffice to support the finding of alibusia, even if the purpose was to kill, as long as the decision was made all of a sudden and the victim's helpless position was only accidental. So, not all sudden attack can be appreciated as treachery. It is important that the person has used the mode of attack in order to ensure the execution of the crime. In that case, that there will be treachery. So, what are the illustration when the treachery cannot be presumed? There is no treachery under the following circumstance. The assailant was alone while the victim had a four companion nearby who would respond instinctively upon seeing their injured companion. So an altercation preceded the attack, and the meeting of the victim and the assailant was only accidental. So there was no treachery kasi isa lang yung akusado at yung victim ay may mga kasama na four other companions. When the accused suddenly attacked the victim, the companions might have responded instinctively. So in this case, People versus Bilaga, the Supreme Court said that there is no treachery. Neither treachery is attendant where no witness could have seen how the deceased was shot and no witness was presented. So hindi mapatunayan ng prosecution kung paano isinagawa ang pamamaril ng akusado. So treachery cannot be appreciated. Nor treachery is present in the circumstance where the witness to the attack did not see how the attack began and could not provide details on how initial attack was commenced and how it developed until the victim fell to the ground, at which time he saw the fallen victim beaten. The autopsy report shows no back injury, and the attack was made in a broad daylight on a public road and in inhabited area with the use of a weapon club, all indicative of a casual, unplanned, not a planned encounter. So it does not mean that the attack was at the back o may tama sa likod. The stab wounds are at the back. It does not necessarily mean that there is a treachery. Or if the attack was made frontal, it is not necessary that there is no treachery. What is important is that it is a strategy, means employed by the accused so that the victim cannot put up his defense. Then there is a clear case of treachery. So the mode of attack must be consciously adapted. So this means that the accused must make some preparation to kill the deceased in such manner as to ensure the execution of the crime, or to make it impossible or hard for a person to defend himself. So as long as there is planning coming from the accused to ensure that the victim will not put up a defense and he will be surprised, that is a clear case of treachery. In the following cases, it was held by the Supreme Court that there was treachery or alibusia, the act of shooting the victim at a distance without the expectation on his part that he would be assaulted is characterized by treachery. That is the ruling in People versus Tamani. So malayo yung accused, from a distance binaril niya yung biktima. That is to ensure that the victim will not retaliate. So there is a treachery there. Another example, the killing was attended with aggravating circumstance of treachery because the accused made a deliberate surprise attack to the victim and they perpetrated the killing in such manner that there was no risk to themselves arising from any defense which the victim might have made. People versus Mori. So inasmuch as the victim was unarmed and utterly defenseless, he tried to escape through a window. The accused shot him. In that situation, the victim fell into the battalion with 3 serious gunshot wounds and entry on his back. Treachery or alibusia was manifested in that manner of assault because it ensured the killing without any rest to the assailant. Yan yung mga example natin ng treachery o may pagtataksil na pagpatay o pag-commit ng krimen. But in the following instances, treachery is not appreciated. The attack was perpetrated in a frontal encounter shown by the location of the wounds in front part of the victim's body. There were no wounds on the back. So yung atake ay lahat nasa front. No wounds on the back. There was no treachery. In another example, the initial assault of the victim was not made in a sudden and unexpected manner. The malefactors give him an ominous warning of their presence and heralded their entrance into the house by firing 2 guns on the ground. So mayroong warning bago nila isinagawa yung krimen. So there's no treachery in that case. Next, the accused and his companion did not camouflage their hostile intention. They announced their presence at the scene of the crime with shouts and gunshots, and the mode of attack negated the existence of treachery since the element of surprise which marked the presence of treachery was absent. So as long as there is an element of surprise and the victim has not afforded the opportunity to defend himself, there is a treachery there. Also, the following instance, there is a treachery when they attack the victim when the victim is asleep. Okay, when the victim is half awake or just awakened, there is also a treachery there. You attack or the accused attack the victim when the victim is only half awake or just awakened, kagigising lang. Doon niya binanatan agad yung biktima. So there is a treachery. Victim grappling or being held. There is a treachery where the assailant stops the victim while the latter is grappling with another, or thus rendering him practically helpless to unable to put up any defense. Attack from behind is also considered as treachery. Attack from behind with firearm or with bladed weapon, that is treachery. So what are the requisites of treachery? That at the time of the attack, the victim was not in position to defend himself and that the offender consciously adapted the particular means, method, and form of attack employed. Sinigurado niya na hindi makakaganti yung biktima and there is a suddenness of attack, there is a surprise of attack to the victim. So that is treachery. And there is also a treachery in killing of a child. Killing a child is characterized by treachery because the weakness of the victim due to his tender age result in the absence of any danger to the accused. The killing of 1-year-old child by an adult or by a 20-year-old is a treachery. And treachery, class, may exist even if the attack is face-to-face. It's not necessary for treachery to be present that the attack must come from behind, from the victim. Treachery should be taken into account even the deceased was face to face with the assailant at the time of the blow, when the blow was delivered, where it appears that the attack was not preceded by a dispute. So walang pag-aaway, but there is a suddenness of the attack and the victim was unable to prepare himself for the defense. That is in US versus Cornejo, 28 Philippines 457. The attack was sudden and unexpected to the point of incapacity of the victim to repel or to escape. How about flashing the beam of flashlight on the face of the victim? Where there is an immediate prior stabbing, the accused flashed the beam of the flashlight to the face of the victim, momentarily blinding the victim. The attack through frontal was sudden and perpetrated in a manner directly to ensure its execution free from any danger. So there is a treachery in that case. So in summary, we can say that if the aggression is continuous, tuloy-tuloy, treachery must be present in the beginning of the assault. But when the assault was not continuous, so hindi siya tuloy-tuloy yung assault, isang bagsakan lang, in that case, there was an interruption or there is an interruption, it is sufficient that treachery was present at the moment of the fatal blow. So that is how we appreciate the aggravating circumstance of treachery. How about nighttime? Well, nighttime is inherent in treachery. Kasama na ang nighttime sa treachery. It is inherent. For this reason, the rule is that nighttime forms part of peculiar treacherous means and manner adapted to ensure its execution of the crime. So, pag may treachery and there is a nighttime, it is absorbed as one. Kasi nighttime is already included in the treachery. Paragraph 17, the means employed or circumstances brought about which add ignominy to the natural effect of the act. So what is the basis? The basis of this aggravating circumstance is the reference to the means employed. So what is ignominy? Is a circumstance pertaining to the moral order which adds disgrace to the material injury caused by the crime. Example, it would be present in the case where one raped a married woman in the presence of her husband. So the woman was raped in the presence of the husband. There is an ignominy there. Where the accused raped a woman in the presence of her brother. Where a woman was successively raped by 4 men, there is also an ignominy. When one of the victims was raped in the presence of her husband and successively raped by 5 men. So, ignominy when in compelling an old woman to confess to the theft of clothes, and the accused maltreated her and took off her drawer because the removing of her drawers could have no other purpose but to put her to shame. The crime in this case is ignominy. The grieved coercion attended by ignominy. And paragraph 18 for aggravating circumstance that the crime be committed after unlawful entry. What is the basis? This has reference to the ways and means employed to commit a crime. Meaning of unlawful entry, there's unlawful entry when the entrance is effected by ways not intended for the purpose. So, yung mga akusado ay dumaan sa bintana o sa bubong. Hindi naman yan usually daanan ng tao. So, there is an aggravating circumstance of unlawful entry. Example, the act of entering through the window or which is not the proper place for the entrance of the house. It constitutes unlawful entry. So what is the reason for this aggravating circumstance? One who acts not respecting the walls erected by men to guard their property and to provide their personal safety shows a greater perversity, greater audacity. Hence, the law punishes him with more severity. So, mayroon kang tendency, greater perversity to perpetrate the crime. You use other entry than that is usually used by the person or the victim, like doors or the usual entrance to the house. Paragraph 19, that the means of commission of a crime, a wall, roof, floor, door, or a window is broken. So, what is the basis for this aggravating circumstance? Reference to the means and ways employed to commit the crime. So, the wall, the roof, the floor, and the door or the window is broken. Paragraph 20. The crime be committed with aid of person under 15 years of age and by means of motor vehicle, airship, and other similar means. So, dito naman, ginamit mo yung mga bata under 15 years old for the commission of the crime, thinking that they will have no criminal responsibility because they are under 15 years old. But if you are an adult facilitating the commission of the crime, you'll have an aggravating circumstance under the paragraph 20. So, committing a crime by means of motor vehicle, airship, and other similar means, that is also a aggravating circumstance. Next, paragraph 21, that the wrong done in the commission of the crime be deliberately augmented by causing other wrong not necessary for its commission. Or this is also called as cruelty. There is a cruelty when the culprit enjoy and delight in the making his victim suffer slowly and gradually, causing him unnecessary physical pain in the consummation of criminal act. So for example dito, bago patayin ang biktima, tinali muna, pinahirapan bago isinagawa ang pagpatay o pagbaril. Kaya pinakagat muna sa langgam o sa aso bago niya tudasin. So there is a cruelty. It is unnecessary, causing unnecessary physical pain and in the consummation of the crime. So what are the requisites? The injury caused be deliberately increased by causing other wrong, and the other wrong be unnecessary for the execution for the purpose of the offender. So those are the aggravating circumstances as enumerated in Article 14 of the revised penal code.